Hey everyone, and welcome back to Slay a Trade Thursday. Today we're going bright and bold and inspired by Autism Awareness Month. A little reminder that different isn't less, and color makes everything more beautiful. So let's dive right in. This week, we're mixing things up a little bit. I mean, there's still about 8 bazillion jars of glitter over there, but we're not using my favorite Timu resin this week. We're using my J Diction High Gloss Epoxy. So the reason for this is because I realized I have so much resin that I'm not using because I'm so completely loyal to the Timu resin. And so I don't want all of my resins to yellow. One of them already did. Oops. So I'm going to be using up my stash of everything before going back to my very favorite. Although, don't get me wrong, I absolutely 1,000,000,000% love the J Diction. It's so good. But it's a little bit thicker than what I would prefer. That's one of the reasons why I really like the Timu is because it's thinner. It really lets go of bubbles without any drama. So anyway, I'm going to be using up all of my resin over the next few months probably. And then we'll be going back to my loyal ride or die, the Timu resin. So I think everyone's familiar with autism awareness and the puzzle piece. And I think the meaning of the puzzle piece has evolved over time. For me, I think it's a symbol of how every person is unique and every person belongs. And every person is like an important piece to fit everything together. That's the way that I look at it. And I was really excited about doing this because, you guys, I have to tell you, as you can see over on the right-hand side, there's a ton of glitter. That is not even half of it. So a little side story here. One of my favorite creators on YouTube, she is a Tumblr creator. She is downsizing and she's moving and she was destashing a lot of her glitters. And so I ended up buying a lot. I don't know, 30 jars, 40 jars, something like that of glitter that she had. And these are some of the glitters. And oh my gosh, they are stunning. Absolutely just stunning. So I thought for the tray that I would go yellow, green, pink, some purple. That's my initial thought. And of course, I have to incorporate glitter with that. And check out this yellow. Oh my gosh, that is bright and I think perfect. And this is a super chunky mix. And I was on the fence about the mixes that I chose because most of them are chunky-ish, except for one. The green that I chose is not chunky. And I was a little bit concerned going in if it would be weird because the other glitters will have a different texture. And so that was my concern going in. But let's be real, it's glitter. So can you really go wrong with glitter? So here's my other thing. When I embarked on this project, I didn't really think it through. I know that's a surprise. Everybody's surprised by that. But I didn't think it through. And I planned out a lot of it. There are little details that I didn't plan out. For example, I only have one puzzle piece. I didn't really think that was going to be a big deal. And honestly, it's not if you're good at spatial visualization. However, I am not. I am not that person who can we just stop 1 second and look at this glitter? Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. That shine. Okay, sorry, I digress. Spatial visualization. So I can't look at something and rotate it in my brain so that I know what it would look like if I moved it this way or if I did that. So if you're good at that, congratulations. I'm not. But with the puzzle pieces, the way I had to do it to make them all fit together was that 2 of the pieces you would work from the bottom up, and then 2 of the pieces you would, the bottom of the mold would be the front of the mold. I didn't plan that very well when I was planning that out because my brain did not it just doesn't do that. So I thought originally, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to ombre these colors a little bit. I'm going to kind of like blend them into each other. Yeah, that didn't work out very well, but that's okay. It still turns out okay. But let's just start with, if I was going to do this again, I would do each piece one specific color instead of trying to be all fancy and try to like blend them a little bit, because that didn't work out. But a massive victory is this pink. Oh my gosh. I could live inside of that cup. That's how much I love it. So I did add a little bit of glue to each of the colors. Now, I don't know if that was the best plan. The reason I did it, so I had like two thoughts, right? Thought one was that I didn't want my glitter to all sink and just be on the bottom, or, on the front of the piece, and then the back side of it be clear. So I wanted it to be dispersed throughout the entire piece. So I thought, okay, let's add a little bit of glue so that way it suspends it. So from that perspective, it was good. From the perspective of it didn't blend very well, because obviously you've made it very thick at this point, that didn't work as well. So it just didn't blend like I wanted it to. I could have maybe added more glitter and just left out the glue and just made it super pigmented. Or I could have also added a tiny bit of mica powder or alcohol ink to tint the resin so that it would be less noticeable if it fell. But I didn't do either of those things, so I added glue. But it's all good because these colors, they're really good. And I did speed this up a little bit just to make it less painful for you, because it took me quite some time. Ooh, and the other thing about the resin stitch, right? And using different resin is I forget the work time and how, like, my Timu resin works for, 40 minutes or something. And I think that my J Diction is more like 20, 25 minutes. So big difference there, and kind of didn't plan that out. But you know what? That's okay. We live, we learn. So you can see they're very separated in the colors with the blue, the pink, the yellow, and they don't blend that great. And yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. They don't blend that great, but it's okay. Personally, I think that my contribution to Slay a Tray Thursday should just be like, don't do this. Don't do whatever this person says. Do the exact opposite. I feel like that's what I bring to the table here. All right, well, let's see what happens. We're going to let this set for forever. It takes so long. I'm going to let it set for maybe an hour and then pop it on the heat mat for a few hours and then come back and we'll pour the next piece. All right. And okay. Okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I am going to trim it up though with my deburring tool because it did have a few wonky edges. So remember how I said, that spatial visualization isn't my jam? Well, you can tell on this piece, right? Because I obviously did not think about this very clearly, or my brain just didn't process it. But that entire side, if I was going to start with like mixing the colors a little bit, that entire side should have been yellow, like the entire right-hand side. I I don't know why I didn't think about that, but I didn't. So yeah. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So this is the point where I start trying to figure out which way the piece is supposed to go so that the colors will match up. And this is excruciatingly painful. And I'm so sorry that I'm leaving it in. However, I felt like maybe I'm not the only one who struggles with spatial visualization. There are other words I wanted to throw in there, but I'm going to leave those out. So it took me quite a little bit, every single puzzle piece, to make sure that I sort of kind of had the colors lined up. This goes on for a really long time, so I'm going to cut all of that out. But I did want you to see my process here and how my brain was like, I'm so confused. But I feel like I can share my vulnerabilities with you. So this is such a pretty green. It is so bright and so vibrant, but it is a fine glitter. And this is where I was a little bit concerned about using the fine glitter versus the others are all relatively chunky, or they're kind of mixes, right? So the yellow is pretty chunky, and then the pink and the blue, they are mixes. And so the green is just completely fine. It would have been a better option, I think, had I either used a mix or just used a chunky and kind of stayed within that entire, glitter size family. But it didn't, so it's okay. And one last time, I'm going to check to make sure that I'm pouring the right colors in the right sides of the mold. And hey, I even thought to grab some tape and clean it out. So I feel like that's kind of a victory. And did you see the brand new alcohol bottle? My daughter, she said to me the other day, she's like, your bottle of alcohol is disgusting. Just like that, so indignant, so just like offended by the fact that there was resin on my alcohol bottle. So she brought me a new one. And of course, I didn't have the heart to tell her that in a week it's going to be also covered in resin. So now we have two. We have a pink one and we have a purple one. So I don't know, small victories. All right, and this one is finished. I mean, it's pretty simple, honestly, when you think about it, right? You're just pouring some colors. And yeah, I'm going to let this cure. We're going to do the same thing. We'll let this cure for an hour, pop it on the heat mat, come back tomorrow, and then we'll pour the next piece. And I have to tell you, I have massive Scooby-Doo vibes from this piece. The blue and the green together, it reminds me so much of the Mystery Machine. And I absolutely love Scooby-Doo. Why did I not make a Scooby-Doo autism tray? Sometimes these things just... Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's really cute. I think those colors look great together. Oh, and look, I'm still trying to figure out what color to pour on the next piece. And it takes me, once again, quite some time. But that's okay. I don't love the way it looks because, a couple of things, right? So one, the yellow on the top piece, I didn't bring it all the way down. But two, the green goes all the way up and gets into the blue. So absolutely, totally messed up on these colors. Would have been so much better to just make them individual. But you know what? Learn from me. Don't make my same mistakes. So on this one, we're just doing some green and then some yellow. We're going to follow the same process, let it cure, come back and do the last piece. So of course, by this time, I've realized this is not going to plan. This isn't working out quite like I had hoped it would. I think that the concept was there, but the execution, it's lacking. And I'm still confused about the mold and which way to put it, but that's okay. That's okay. That green, do you see how the green just doesn't, it was so vibrant in the bottle, and in the piece, it's not vibrant at all. I think part of it was just the fact that it was a fine glitter, and I should have put a lot more in. Maybe I should have bolstered it with some alcohol ink. I'm not sure. But it doesn't have the same vibrancy as the other colors, which was a little bit disappointing because I was really excited about it. But I decided, of course, I'm going to finish it because I've come this far. I'm not going to quit now. But then my brain started going, okay, this isn't fantastic. So let's recalibrate. Let's do something different. Like every single week when I do things multiple times, yeah, we're going to do that again this week. And so I decided that I'm going to, of course, do my last piece. We'll put it together and we'll finish it. But then I also wanted to try something else that I was kind of excited about, actually inspired by Kathy over at K&D. She's part of our collab. She's amazing. And she made a piece a few weeks ago that was so good. She used rhinestones on it. And so I decided I wanted to give that a try. So yeah, so we're going to let this cure. We'll put it together. But let's pour our second tray. So for this tray, I mixed up 14 ounces. It's just going to be just a regular rectangular tray. And so I wanted to kind of stay in the same color family that we were using before, with some blue, some green, some pinks. And I want it to be fairly light, not translucent, but not super dark either. So I pulled out some of the Arteza, please tell me it's Arteza and not Arteza, colors, which I find they're stunning. They all are kind of very metallic, but they're not as pigmented as some of, let's say, the Let's Resin micas. So that works out really well because I didn't want it to be super pigmented. But I have found that if I want it to be darker, then I definitely have to add a lot more. And originally I was thinking about, maybe we do like a chuck it all in. We put our mica powder down in our mold and then we spray it with alcohol and then pour our resin on top. But I decided instead to mix up the colors and just kind of pour them in randomly across the tray. And then I want to come back behind it with some kind of I think it's called periwinkle glow, something like that. It's this really gorgeous iridescent. It kind of shifts from white to purple. Absolutely, oh my gosh, could be my favorite color ever. So I am going to give it a good spray with some alcohol, and then we're just going to start pouring in. I'm trying to keep colors that are similar together. So like the greens and the blue, the pink up against the darker pink, and then the purple up against that. I think all the colors are okay together. I wasn't too worried about them muddying, but I was trying to be careful with that. I just definitely did not want anything to come in and be, icky brown or gray or anything like that. And I really wish that it would just stay just like that. I think that is so pretty, just like it is. But since I know that's not going to happen, I'm going to come back behind with this periwinkle glow. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. I'll pop it up here later if it's not right. And just pour this on top. So it has that shift, though, the white to the purple shift. And I do think it'll blend all of the colors really nicely. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And do you ever feel like you can't say anything else about a topic because you have literally used every word that you have in your brain? That's where I'm at right now. I have nothing else to say about this other than cross your fingers and let's hope that this tray turns out better than our puzzle pieces. Okay, so puzzle pieces all unmolded. Can you see the vision at least? I mean, that green, no, that is not good. The ombre, not good. Yeah, no. It looks like a 2-year-old got some glitter and just started throwing it in. It's literally terrible. And no, I did not just throw that away, but I did unmold this piece. And I kind of like it. I don't like the front. I don't like that cloudy effect that Micah makes sometimes. The front I don't like. It's just, I don't know. It's just not my thing. The back, however, I really do like. But there's also a funky edge. One of the edges somehow is misshapen. I don't know how that's possible. The only thing I can think is that maybe it wasn't fully cured when I took it out of the mold and it just, I don't know. But that's okay because we can sand that. I mean, someone could sand that if they really wanted to. Someone could sand it and make it perfectly straight. That won't be me, but someone else could do it. Anyway, I like the colors. I think they're beautiful. I think they're soft, but I still think that they have like this beautiful vibrancy to them. So yeah, I'm actually happy with that. So here's what I'm thinking. No, I'm not going to glue that random puzzle piece to the front of this, although maybe I could have and it would have been just the same. But what I've decided to do is I want to rhinestone the puzzle piece onto the tray. And I thought that tracing the puzzle piece onto the tray would be the easiest way to make that happen. I don't know if that's actually true. If I was going to do it again, I would actually do it differently and cut out a template and then tape it down onto the tray because that black marker kind of shows through in some places. Not a lot. You really have to get up close and personal with it, but it still does show through a little bit. So if you're not familiar with the art of rhinestoning, it is so therapeutic. At least I think it's therapeutic. And there are a few things you need. This is a rhinestoning pen. One side of it has a wax end, and then the other side is just like a little, like if you do diamond art, you know, like the little thing that you can pick up your rhinestones with. And then you'll need something to put your rhinestones in. This happens to be a tray for diamond art that literally you put your rhinestones in, and it has these little grooves so that if you shake it, it pops your rhinestones up in the right direction. So that way they are the shiny side up. And then you're going to need an adhesive. Gem Tack is on the left, and then Liquid Fusion is on the right. I prefer Liquid Fusion, but that's just me. Both work equally well. You could also technically use like a 5-minute epoxy. I don't, because 5-minute epoxy smells absolutely horrendous, but to each his own, or her own, their own, everyone's own. So normally what I would do is I would fill this, I would put this into a syringe and use that, but I can't seem to find my small syringes. So I'm just going to actually lay it down on the tray, and then I'm just going to come in behind it and put my rhinestones down. And I did go above the line. My thought was that I wanted to try and obscure that line as best I could. I don't know that it made a big difference in the end, but I mean, it was fine whether it was on top of it or below it. The thing you have to be careful with your glue is that it does dry pretty fast, especially because you're putting down a thin layer. You don't want to put down a thick layer of your glue, because if it's thick, it squishes out the sides of your rhinestones, and then it leaves like a puddle that dries, you know, like a puddle of clear glue around your rhinestones, and it looks ridiculous. So definitely use thin layers, put on a little bit at a time. And when I'm rhinestoning, I like to do the perimeter first and then give it 24 hours to let everything completely solidify so that the pieces are not going to move outside and your lines are going to stay as crisp as they could possibly be. So I will go around, I'll do the entire perimeter of the puzzle piece. We'll let it set, and then we'll come back in and we'll fill it in. I find it to be so therapeutic, and I love the way it looks. I think it's so adorable. And yeah, look, a little bit of extra light there. Sorry about the reflection, but it does help to be able to see it. But yeah, I love the reflection of the light on the rhinestones. And you can see, like in certain angles, how there's some extra glue at the top, and it looks weird. Totally fine and normal. All you have to do is, once you put all of your pieces on, you've got everything glued down, and you let it set for 3-4 days, you can go in and you can actually wash it. Take a little sponge with a little bit of soap, and just kind of like with some hot water, and just gently rub that off, and it should come right off. And I'm going to do my best to keep the lines as straight as possible. It's tough sometimes. If it's really important to you to have super straight lines, you can use a ruler to kind of make sure that everything is completely lined up. I'm sure it will be a surprise to everyone, but I'm not that concerned if it's not perfectly straight. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to fill all of this in, and then I will be back to you when all is said and done. And I may have decided that I hated this tray and that I needed to fix it. So I thought that the easiest way to fix it would be to take some UV resin, mix it with glitter, and then just make each piece solid instead of having weird no matchy gradients. So I just took some glitter, put it in UV resin, and then I did each one of these pieces. I stuck with the original colors as much as I can, or as I could, except for on that really hideous green one in the lower left-hand corner. That one was so ugly that I was just like, nope, we're not doing that. So I did use this mixture. I found a mixture that's like an Easter spring mix that has pink and blues and greens and yellows. And I thought it would kind of tie all of the pieces together. So I did each one of the pieces, and I cured them for about 10 minutes total. Generally, you don't have a problem with UV resin curing with just glitter because there's enough vacancy, is that the right word? There's enough space, I guess, between the glitter pieces that it will still get a good cure because there's no other colorant or anything like that. So the light can still pass through it and you generally get a really good cure. I did want to make sure it was super cured though, because I am going to top coat this. And so I just let it set under the lamp for like 10 minutes just to make sure it was good and solid. And then I just repeated the same process for all 4 pieces. And then I decided I was going to top coat it. Now, there's a couple of things that I wish I would have done a little bit differently. One, I did take some UV resin and fill in all of the cracks, like all of the, around each puzzle piece where it connects to the other piece to make sure that my epoxy wasn't going to drip through. So I put a really good thick layer of the UV resin along the seams, basically. And it actually worked really well. I was surprised, but it did work and it kept the epoxy from dripping through, which was awesome. Then I set the tray up on some bottles of glitter just to elevate it up off of the table because I had a feeling, well, one, I was concerned that my seams where I put the UV resin might leak. And 2, just in case I had any overpour, I wanted to make sure that my tray did not get stuck to the mat. So that actually worked out fine. But I wish I would have used a different resin. I should have used the 4-hour because it's thicker. I went ahead and used the regular J-Diction, the one that I've been trying to get through. So it was a little bit thin. And of course, once you hit it with a lighter to burst any bubbles or a heat gun, anything like that, it makes it a little bit thinner. And so I did have a little bit of runoff on one side because the glitter bottles, the piece wasn't completely level because on the back, one of the pieces was thinner than the others. And so there was a little bit of runoff, which it's no big deal. It looks completely fine. But I mean, I wish that I would have gone with the 4-hour or even a top coating resin. I had thought about my top coating resin, but since it's yellowed, I didn't want to use it. So yeah, anyway, a thicker resin would have been better, but it ended up being just completely fine. And after I finished putting the resin on, I did hit it with a lighter a couple of times just to make sure there weren't any bubbles in there. And also I tried to monitor it for any of those places where sometimes resin will pull away, whether there's debris in it or just, the universe of resin says, no thanks, not today. So I did monitor it for that. There ended up, very annoyingly, being one spot where it pulled away after I had babysat it for like an hour and it still pulled away in that one little tiny spot. But you know what? All in all, I think it turned out just fine. And here's what we are looking like. So this is the tray. It's finished. I think it turned out much better than I had anticipated, especially after the ombre nonsense that did not go well. But I think it turned out really pretty. I love the different glitter colors. I do like the fact that they all kind of tie together. There are a couple of little spots where the resin pulled away on that multicolored glitter. That was where it ran off of the side of the tray. And so I think just with the runoff, you can see them right there when I tilt it in the light. You can see those, but I can easily fix those with a little bit of UV resin. I could theoretically sand it down and redo it, but I think I'm just going to put a little bit of UV resin in there and it should be just fine. The back is a little bit uneven because one of the pieces is smaller than the rest. So I will go back in and I'll put a back coat on it once that front is good and dry and I can leave it on its front side without it having any issues. So I'll give it like a week or so. And then I'll come and I'll put a coat on the back and that will even it out. I'm not too concerned about the fact that there are different colors on the back. I'm considering about fixing the sides before I do the back. Some of them are fine. It's the same color all the way across, but then some of them still have that like ombre color. So I probably will fix those, and then I'll do the back coat just to make everything even. But all in all, you know what? It turned out much better than I thought it was going to turn out. Can you guys hear the cat yelling in the background? She obviously is very upset about something. But all in all, I think it turned out pretty good. This one I had high hopes for, and I don't love it. I know, that's terrible, right? It's fine, but it's just not exactly what I was going for. I feel like it's a little bit one-dimensional. I love the background colors. I think that they all work so well together, but I feel like the rhinestones themselves, the piece is a little bit too big. It definitely dominates. I think if I was going to do it again, though, I would do a piece inside of a piece. So I would do the outer, three quarters or something in one color, and then do like an inner piece in a different color, just so that it was a little bit more dimensional. But it's fine. It's rhinestones. How can you go wrong with rhinestones? And I think that is a wrap for today. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching these videos, even though sometimes they're completely nonsensical, and apparently an angry cat that lives in the background over here. I appreciate you. So please go check out the other creators in the description box below. Such amazing people, so great. I like every single week, everyone just completely amazes me at the magic that they put together. And also, I feel a little bit ashamed because mine never reaches theirs, but I'm working on it. So please check them out. And then in 2 weeks, come back and we're doing the water droplet effect. And I have an idea. I don't know. It might be a terrible idea because I was really excited about the puzzles this week. But come back and we'll hang out and we'll at least have some fun, and you can learn what not to do.